Hi, it's great to be back. We're going to talk a little bit today about the cloud and how it's revolutionizing multicam production for live streaming workflows. So I'm the VP of Marketing at Dazzl, and Dazzl, we have a product that's a mobile app as well as a cloud-based interface that runs natively in the browser. So what I'm going to specifically talk about today is some use cases. Spartan Race, which is a very popular weekend warrior adventure race, uses our technology to be able to produce multi-camera events at a fraction of the rate of sending an OB truck or some kind of a traditional production workflow out into the field. So I think this is no news to anyone. Video is the media of the 21st century. It's not a big surprise. But I think what's really become very prevalent, I've been in the video industry for 15 years, and the huge proliferation of social media, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and others kind of owning the video space. It's really the biggest revolution that's happened in the last few years. And this is going to continue to trend. If Facebook was a country, it would be the second largest country in the world. And the amount of live video that's being produced on that platform is a major avenue for different brands, for different events to actually get to the audience where they are, right, which is on social media. And the reason for this is life, right? Live events, there's interaction, there's a community that can interact with the content that's being produced. And this is really, I think, what's attracted a lot of people to live video and live streaming workflows. The only problem with these workflows is that you can pick up your mobile phone and be able to stream into Facebook Live, no problem, using the app, the Facebook Live app. But what if you want to add a production value? You want to do multi-camera events, you want to do graphics, you want to do mixed audio, VOD clips, all of that mixed in to create a live production. Traditionally, using a OB truck or using a very advanced workflow, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars or euros for a one-day event or multi-day event. And this is out of the reach of most companies. A lot of small brands don't have the budgets to be able to do live streaming workflows that the Champions League or the World Cup or different events can do, or live concerts. So what our technology is able to do is kind of democratize a little bit the live production workflow by taking this out of the field, putting it in the cloud, and allowing your mobile device to become that live streaming device that can capture content and allow a producer half a world away to produce the event through a cloud interface. So with our technology, it can be done in really 3 easy steps. So capture, produce, and distribute. And we're going to talk a little bit about those different steps that are involved in doing this. So Dazzl, we create a live mobile app that's available for iOS and Android. That mobile app allows you to download it for free, be able to capture video and audio content in the field over 4G, 3G, and even we just had an event yesterday that captured it over 5G. And that kind of data connections and the affordability and the scale of kind of cheap data allows you to use your mobile device over these connections, whether it be Wi-Fi wired or 4G and 5G, to capture video content and very affordably distribute that and produce that into the cloud. So not only do we have that kind of mobile app, we also have a cloud-based interface. And that cloud-based interface uses web-native technologies. So to get a little bit techie here, we use WebRTC natively inside the browser to encode the content. So when we encode on our mobile device, we encode the video and audio using WebRTC, and then we send it to our interface where we can then use that to mix the video content, choose between different contribution devices, add graphics, and then be able to send that out. So what I'll do, I'll put up a quick video and show you a quick example of exactly how that's being done. So with this particular device, this is an example of an actual cloud interface. It can be run on a tablet or on a thin client, so a browser, a Mac, a PC. Then our mobile app actually allows you to capture that content, but we can also capture content from drones using the RTMP protocol over a 4G connection or a Wi-Fi connection. We can also capture it from traditional encoders like Teradek Cube, a harmonic device, a Matrox device, Osprey, all these different camera top encoders that can capture that content, encode it, and also send it into our platform. So using this mobile device, you have the ability to do two-way intercom, live tally as well, so you know when you're live on air. Very professional features, but within a mobile workflow. But like I mentioned, we're not just using mobile apps to do this. You can mix this in with traditional professional cameras as well as drone footage. So all those things allow you to choose multiple camera feeds, produce a very professional looking event for a fraction of the cost. I mean, we have some of these events that are being produced for under $1,000 for a one-day event, when in comparison it would be $10,000, $15,000 to have an OB truck on site and be able to do that. The other big piece of this is to actually broadcast this. We have a multicast or simulcast that can broadcast it to Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Periscope, your own RTMP server like a Wowza server or a CDN to distribute that content to other locations as well. So it allows you to get your content where people are on these different social media platforms. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the capture side of this. So we talked a little bit about the mobile app that's available. This allows mobile journalists, user-generated content contributors. The app is free, so anybody can download this. So imagine you're at your weekend football game, your son's playing. A parent or a coach could download our app, be able to be a camera contributor into a producer who's now mixing that event and sending it to that local football team's website. You know, an event like that, you're never going to pay for that. But with this workflow, it allows you to actually do that in a very affordable way and put that content out so family members, other teams, the players themselves can then watch that on social media later on. We can also pull in footage from drones. So we've had a lot of drone footage. I'll show an example of it later where, you know, now you don't need an expensive dolly, right, it would cost you tens of thousands to have an operator. And it can all be done with drones. And you're getting some very, very professional footage being produced with drones. DJI is, of course, the leader in the space. These drones actually have an encoder built into them where you encode that to RTMP, send it up into our platform over 4G or Wi-Fi connection. Then what we do is we actually take out the video and audio codec and rewrap it in WebRTC so we can actually mix that inside of our cloud-native player. And then once you mix that and send that out, that can then be streamed out to these different social media platforms. So you can have one person holding a mobile device, one person actually running a professional camera with a camera top encoder, another person operating the drone. And with this, you can have a 3, 5, 10 camera event, multi-cam produced, with a very professional output that can be then sent to end users. And then, like I mentioned, the live encoders that we support, anything that supports RTMP, which is a standard in the industry. We also are part of the SRT Alliance, so you can actually use an encoder that supports secure, reliable transport. That Haivision and Wowza open source last year and has become kind of the big trend in streaming. And then a lot of professional cameras, JVC, Sony, Canon, all of them are creating dual camera encoders or dual encoders that allows you to encode to the chip, but then also, or to the memory device, but then also stream one of those out over 4G, Wi-Fi, or wired connections. So all of those are inputs that we can bring into our platform. So here's an example. With Teradek, we actually have an integration with them right out of the box that you can actually stream directly from a Teradek device. The important thing with our interface is that we have a live tally and two-way communication built into our iOS and Android app. But what if you're using a Teradek device with another camera? You're not using our app. We have a separate app that still allows you to do two-way communication with the producer who's sitting half a world away, and also has a live tally, so you know when you're live on air. So you could be talking to a producer who's sitting in France. You're producing the event in Seattle. And you can tell the camera person, hey, you know what, pan left, zoom in on that, and produce that all remotely from a remote location. And then the tally light lets you know that you're live on air. So you're not going to zoom out or change anything. So these are professional features built into a very affordable workflow. So this is an event, a snapshot of one event that actually took place in the French Alps. So one of our premier customers is TV8 Mont Blanc. This is a local TV producer, and they've really stepped up their game with producing these events. You know, they were one of our first customers about a year and a half ago, and they've continued to up their game with using drone footage. This is actually at the top of a peak in the French Alps, and if you're trying to do this with a live view pack or an OB truck and trying to take equipment up there, it's impossible to get all the way up there hiking that equipment. Not only that, it's also very expensive. So with you can see here this camera operator who's using a gimbal with the mobile device connected over 4G up in the middle of the mountains. So with data becoming more and more available across these different networks, and especially with the advent of 5G, which is now being deployed across Europe and the world, it's going to make data more accessible in more sparse areas like this, and make it affordable for you to contribute video into the cloud that you can then use as content to mix. So let's talk a little bit about the step 2, which is the production side of things. So like I mentioned previously, you still need people on the ground. Now, a lot of the people that are contributing to the Spartan Race and other events are people who are volunteers. So Spartan Race, you know, you're looking at a course that's several miles or several kilometers wide. You've got people throughout that are already monitoring the event, there to help the participants. All they need to do is pull out their mobile phone, and now they can become a live video contributor into that particular event. So by pulling out their phone, they can now contribute. There's no cost for that camera operator. Yes, it's not at the level of a really, really high-end production where you've got, you know, expensive cameras and people on site, but you know what? It's free, completely free to have a camera contributor into your workflow. With the Spartan Race specifically, they produced the Seattle race last year. And they actually have the World Championships coming up in a couple of weeks in Lake Tahoe that's going to be produced using our workflow as well. And the live producer was sitting in France. half a world away, producing the event and streaming it out to social media. So that kind of workflow is just revolutionary, right? The fact that you can remove the on-site production of an event and have a truck there, the equipment on site, and be able to do that all within a web browser and in a thin client, and then produce that and stream it out. That's really, I think, where the industry is going. As you get further away from on-site hardware and you start using the cloud and leveraging the cloud to really produce these professional workflows. You'll see in the interface here, we have the ability to invite people to be a contributor. So when someone downloads the app, you can invite them to be a contributor to that particular event. So there's that security feature built into it. There's a two-way communication feature. There's also the ability to mix live audio. So you can have the audio from one contributor, but then mix that in with the commentator or some background music track. What you'll see here at the bottom, this is an example of these available video sources. In the sailing example, if you were trying to do this with conventional equipment, it would be very hard out on the water. So with this, you can see we've got several iOS and Android apps using our Dazzl software. You've got a GoPro, you've got a DJI drone. These are all video sources that are available to the producer. They can choose between those. And then push it out, add also graphical overlays. So we have integration. We're actually able to encode in the Chromium app inside the browser. And then you can use tools like Singular Live, that's right here, to actually add HTML graphics that then can be encoded onto the video and pushed out. So if you want to do integrations to add live scoring, you can do dynamic data, you can do lower thirds, you can do stings or ads all inside the browser. And then we encode that into the video and distribute that out to social media or to your own generic Wowza server or streaming destination. So, like I mentioned at the top of the presentation, Facebook Live has, I think it's 1.2 billion users right now. If it was a country, it would be borderline the biggest country in the world, right? Which is kind of scary, but it's where we're at right now. And with them kind of launching Facebook Live over the last 4 or 5 years, they've really become the premier live video content source, surpassing YouTube and surpassing everyone else. That's where people are living. And all the young kids, the cool kids these days, I guess, don't use Facebook, but you can live stream to Instagram TV, you can live stream to YouTube Live, you can live stream to Periscope, to your own website, white label that with any kind of streaming provider. All that can be done simultaneously and simulcast out using our software. So it allows you to produce it once, distribute it live, and then that content is now available as video on demand content inside these different platforms. And this is an example of some of the customers that we have right now. So we have RSI in Switzerland. They're actually doing post-match coverage of different sporting events like ice hockey. They have the rights to actually distribute ice hockey over TV. But then what they've done is they've tried to engage with fans through their social media division. And they're doing that by live streaming directly to Facebook Live and creating a conversation post-match so people can engage with the brands and the sports that they like. We've also worked with, of course, Spartan, which we're talking about today. We're a partner of Eurovision Sport. And you can see here a variety. The Do Tour in LA just used the event to live produce a skating event. Just a variety of different sporting use cases. But then we're also seeing a lot of kind of live mobile or mobile journalism, so Mojo type use cases. So the biggest election in history happened this year in India. If you don't know that, shame on you. It was like, I think, over 1 billion or almost 1 billion people voted in the Indian elections or participated in it. So Mathrumbi is a very large news organization there. They used us to be able to get into the fields, go to polling stations and interview people and cover this. So this use case is not just for sports. It's for corporate use cases. It's for news. It's for a variety of different use cases. So with the Spartan Race, you can see here the live event enabled them to have over 600,000 live views with 2,000 peak concurrent viewers. So this event took 4 to 5 hours. At peak times, they had over 2,000 viewers. I mean, that's a significant audience, and they had no way before to actually monetize that audience. Think about the sponsors who want to be associated with that brand, people like Nike and Adidas and people who are producing nutritional supplements and all these things. Spartan now has a way to actually find a new revenue source by going into social media. They have a value to their brand that they weren't able to actually maximize on before. So a tool like ours has enabled a lot of these brands to build that audience and find new revenue sources. In addition to the fact that they provide coverage to people who love these sports, not just adventure racing, but everything that you think of, like underwater basket weaving or different sports that in the past haven't been able to actually find their niche or be able to proliferate their content. Now you can, because it's in a very affordable workflow. And then I mentioned previously about RSI as well. They're using us for ice hockey coverage as well. So with that, I've got just like a minute and a half left. I wanted to just show a real example because there's nothing quite like seeing it in action. So hopefully the internet works here. And this is live coverage that just happened yesterday. So this is drone footage, and hopefully now it will switch to one of the sources from on top of a mountain in the French Alps. So this event just happened live yesterday. You see here that they had over 4,000 views. This is a very niche event in western Switzerland, eastern France. And you can see the coverage here. This is someone using a gimbal camera. Yes, there's some artifacting, but that happens during the Tour de France. That happens in different use cases. But the fact that you can actually cover this, and this used 5G. It was the first event we've ever had that used a 5G connection. And then we had the Spartan Race as well. So I apologize for the borderline nudity, but this is one of the races that actually happened last year. And like I said, the Live World Championship is going to happen in a couple of weeks. So another event that was able to be produced very affordably. I also was in Biarritz in France, one of my favorite towns in Europe, and we're associated with the ISA International Surfing Association. So we had the Longboarding World Championships. This is drone footage that they use to actually pull into the Dazzl feed. And you can see here the graphical overlays, live scoring that they were able to pull in using the integration. And once again, they were able to produce this event, get to their audience. This particular final had over 4,000 views. This was a longboarding World Championship, so this is one of the niche events. But yeah, it just shows you how usable and how accessible this is to different audiences.